Okay, I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 combined discussion and action meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Macro, roll call.
Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Arendt.
Here.
Mr. Caligiuri noted he will join us online, but he is not on yet, so I'll just note the time when he joins on the minutes.
Yep.
Ms. Chudderwitz.
Here.
Mrs. Purcell.
Here.
Dr. Richardson.
Here.
Mr. Sokolsky is not joining us this evening. Mrs. Stepnick.
Here.
Mr. Strotke.
Here.
Thank you. The board met in executive session on June 17th, 2025 to discuss matters of litigation, safety, personnel, and real estate. Ms. Macro, if you could do citizens' comment.
If there's anybody that would like to make comments at this time, we ask you to step to the podium one at a time. Please state your name, your residency within Plum, and you'll be provided 3 minutes to speak to the board. Just a reminder that this is a time to share your comments, concerns, and suggestions rather than a question and answer discussion session with the board. I will put a timer on the monitor as well so you can monitor your own time, and I will give you a 30-second warning when your time is coming to a close. Is there anybody that would like to speak at this time? All right. Dr. Anderson, back to you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. First up, academic achievement and activities. Myself, lead board liaison. Letter A, grants and donations awarded. Several that are listed there, from food services to Donors Choose to the Mustang Foundation. All great projects moving forward. Any questions or concerns?
None at all, but again, I'd like to say thank you to our staff for every month that we approve these, and it is monthly. It's astounding, so much appreciated, and I know it goes to great things for our kids.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, do we have 5 to move those forward? Thank you. Next up, the FRCP Comprehensive Plan for 25 to 28 final approval. Dr. Walsh?
Dr. Anderson, I just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Boyers, Dr. Thomas for their work on our comprehensive plan. I believe our comprehensive plan, coupled with our Portrait of a Graduate, has built a foundation that we plan on building upon in regards to what teaching and learning looks like K through 12. Dr. Boyers, is there anything you'd like to add in regards to the comp plan? I know it's been on the website and not much feedback.
No feedback whatsoever, sir.
So the next steps are?
Next steps are, if the board so chooses to move it forward, that we will get the appropriate signatures. Dr. Walsh will sign off on it after, and then we will submit the plan via the FRCCP portal. PDE would give us any feedback on anything that they see that would be an opportunity for improvement. We would make those adjustments. We are ahead of the timeline with this submittal if the board so chooses to move this forward this evening, and then we'll kind of wait to see what PDE has to say for feedback.
And as you recall, I asked PDE to move our timeline back to the fall so that we could incorporate our portrait into our comprehensive plan. So as Dr. Boyer said, we do have a little bit of time for some back and forth. Okay.
Do we have 5 to move that forward? Thank you. And then our athletics update presentation.
Okay, so I've had many conversations in regards to athletics, and it seemed to me that the conversations revolved around boosters, our school affiliated organization, safety and security, how our coaches are communicating with our players, and what policies do we have to take a closer look at. I recommended to the board that give us a little bit of time to take a deep dive with this. So I asked Dr. Boyers, Dr. Thomas, and Mr. Manzer, who is on vacation this week, to work in their respective areas, knowing that the responsibilities of this with the boosters, with the athletics, will fall on Mr. Carpin, and the boosters will fall in our business office with Mr. Manzer. So we've had an opportunity to work with various groups, our students, our coaches, internal, external stakeholders, to come with some recommendations and hopefully get some feedback from board members at this time. So we can go on to the first slide. I'm going to be doing Mr. Manzer's slide. and that is the school, I need my glasses, I need my school affiliated groups here.
Hey,
Sorry.
we have to look on this side because
Yeah,
that looks really awful to turn and watch. So
Yeah.
like, we never look like we're paying attention to the people
So-
talking.
so just to be clear that our school affiliate organizations, if you look, within our policy, are those organizations that utilize our name of our school district or its programs, or they conduct any part of their business on school property or support curricular or extracurricular programs that are operated, for the school district. And we are very appreciative of these groups. These are our PTAs, our boosters, and they really go above and beyond to bring in funds to create wonderful experiences for our students and our student athletes. The policy, has some minimal requirements in regards to bylaws, name of officers, reports, and any recommendations that they may have in regards to improvements of their programs, and that would come to me as the superintendent. These are due July 31st. We've already started to communicate, and the letter is attached to all of our booster groups in regards to getting them compliant. One of the challenges that we have had in the district is in the 7 years that I've been here, we've had, I believe, 5 athletic directors. And drift has happened, and particularly with our athletic boosters. And we need to get everybody on the same page, rowing together, and make sure that everybody is compliant with policy 915. Mr. Manzer is working through the business office and working with these groups. The annual foulings in the past has been sparse. We are over communicating, and we're going to continue to communicate, and we're going to have the expectation of groups being compliant if they want to utilize and take advantages of being an approved group. Because if you're not an approved group, and I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes, you're not on our insurance, and there's other incentives to be an approved group that would come to this board. So linked, he has a past presentation, and I'm also recommending, because our booster groups, our parent organizations, they turn over every year. And the challenge is that, as we're closing down the school year, moving into graduation, our parent groups are changing leadership, and our booster groups are changing leadership. So Mr. Manzer has targeted August, and when I say August, I don't mean just this year, I mean every August, of being available and meeting with groups. And part of the advantages of working with our boosters is helping them become a tax-exempt organization, specifically focusing on 501c3 and any IRS information questions they may have. There's an expertise that we have in the district in Mr. Manzer's office that we will work with the boosters in order to move them towards compliance. A minute ago, I talked about the benefits of being, an affiliated group. They include either reduced or zero facilities fees under policy 707. They utilize our space, our cafeterias, our libraries throughout all of our buildings. And without being an approved group, they would have to pay the fees according to 707. Another advantage is that they're on the district's insurance policy, which is a nice advantage for these groups because they are an approved group. They fall under that larger umbrella. And new this year is the ability to have access and post information on our district app. If you're an approved group, we believe that you should be able to communicate, for instance, the PTO at Holiday Park or Pivot or O-Block. If there's a fundraiser or a happening, that they should be able to push out to the families within that building. So we believe that that will also, it's a nice perk, and it's a nice way of enticing compliance with policy. But at the end of the day, we're going to be more and more stringent in regards to booster groups being compliant with policy 915 in regards to the information we need in order to qualify as an affiliated booster group. Mr. Manzer will work in his office, and as I said, will continue to work with the groups and help them move towards compliance, and offer information sessions and resources along the way. Okay, Dr. Boyers, I believe you have the next slide.
So the next slide correlates safety and security enhancements that we utilize within our activities and extracurriculars, and one of them is going to be the deployment of OpenGate, which is a weapons detection system. Obviously, we've worked closely with the Plum Borough PD to vet this system. Our police officers have had training to effectively utilize the technology, and we are already deploying communications, to let people know. So we've ordered different signage that will be displayed as you come onto our campus, as well as sandwich boards. We've worked with Plum PD to get our communication put together, and they will also be doing a joint communication blast to the community to show that joint effort into the enhancement of safety and security. This will be deployed for our digital backpack in correlation or in collaboration with Mr. Carpin. All of our visiting teams will receive a memo the week of the competition, letting their fan base know that we'll be deploying this system, so that way as people come onto our campus, one, they have the expectation of what to experience, and then just obviously the enhancement of safety and security. These devices, we spent time vetting these devices, and these are similar devices that are used at the various embassies, PNC Park, Acrisure, various college stadiums that allow for high volume traffic to get through, so that way we're not creating a soft target as people go through the matriculation of the detection system. The other piece that we saw a significant gap in was just our communication process. As Dr. Walsh talked about some of the policy, our main communication functionality was via school email to student athletes and students participating in extracurriculars via the coach and our sponsor, and Google Classroom. Those are great communication tools that work for a period of time, but as our teams have had success and they travel to various competitions for robotics or TSA or down to Florida for baseball, there's an opportunity for more dynamic communication to happen that is more instant for our students, so they can get that information readily available in the event that something happens in the evening at late hours, or just there's a shift in weather that needs to have a different meeting location. And so what we did was we established a core team that was made up, comprised of coaches, parents, student athletes, students who participated in various activities, administrators, and we talked about, what are the needs and what are the gaps of our current communication tools, and then what do you want to see that would allow you to communicate effectively and allow you to get that information, but also communicate back to your coach effectively. Mindful of that is we want to maintain institutional control of all those communications to ensure that we have the proper communication channels taking place. Through that, we also vetted other districts and the tools that they were utilizing. One of the tools that emerged was Huddle. Huddle is utilized currently through football, baseball, and some other systems here within the organization, and recently this board approved a 3-year contract for that tool. Huddle is now expanding their horizons and going into the communication space as well. As such, they're allowing us to utilize this tool at no cost to the district because of our recent contract. They feel confident in this space with communications, and we've also learned from other districts that they've had effective communication as well. And so that is our recommendation at this point in time. We'll maintain the school email and the Google Classroom for more of those long-term communications, like, hey, practice is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but then Huddle will be the tool that will allow for that dynamic communication that is almost instant back and forth between the sponsor, the coach, the athlete, and or the student participating in the activity. And it does extend to band, chorus. We can set it up for anything that's not, that's beyond athletics as well. Any questions relative to OpenGate or Huddle communication?
I can tell you I'm watching Huddle unfold in my home for the first time. And, oh, sorry, I forgot about the microphone thing. And I'm respecting Coach Morgan's wishes to let the kids communicate, and I think that that's important. That's part of watching them grow, and of course I watch it. And I did play with Huddle a little bit. And I know we have administrators on Huddle, and there's other folks on Huddle that are overseeing and can see all the communications, and we as a district can know what's happening. I think that's really crucial, that there's no social media. I mean, the booster has a social media, right? But there's no district social media. No employees running a social media account. And I'm watching the communications grow in there, and the need for a child to watch Huddle as a new student into it. So I'm not somebody who's been involved with it for a long time. And I like it. I think it's a great tool, and it's very in front of you. Dr. Walsh, you could say, I want in on every huddle chat. Not that you want them, but you could see them all, and they're all consolidated into one place, which is awesome. And so, I mean, I'm just watching it and seeing and playing with it myself, and I think it's a great thing.
I think part of the challenge has been, and I blame us as a district of not having a consistent approach to how our coaches communicate with our athletes. It was different for every sport, every group, and it leads into drift in regards to our policy expectations. Dr. Boyers has done a thorough deep dive into this, and I like the fact that, you know, we had students and coaches and all the stakeholders involved in order to give us some feedback. And if you think about it, if it can manage football, it can pretty much manage fine arts. It can manage, you know, our other sporting events, because football seems to be the largest sport, and I think fine arts is also a large group.
Yes, it is.
And it gives us institutional control in regards to monitoring the communications that are happening. Dr. Boyers.
Right, and you could have personal conversation with your coach, your student leader, or whoever it might be that's in charge of this, you know, a sponsor or whatever the activity is. Your child can still have individual conversations. It's not like, hey, I'm in the group chat saying I'm sick today. No, you could individually text your coach, but we as a district then could see that communication. So it's pretty transparent, and I like it. I mean, like I said, I've been playing with it, and I'm not on huddle. I'm following the wishes of the coach to make these kids accountable. And so sometimes like, what's on huddle? But I'm not having to say that as much anymore because it's a consistent, I need to check huddle every day.
And I probably glazed over. For folks who aren't familiar with Huddle, Huddle initially began as a video technology tool. So a lot of our students will utilize it to capture highlights and things that will happen during live feed games. That way as they go to be recruited. And speaking with our students in JROTC, when they did the 30-step, they would have a Huddle camera that they can look at, you know, how they're drilling and how they're marching, how they're moving about. And so again, it initially began as more of a video footage tool, and then it has emerged to be a more encompassing tool that brings in the communication piece and keeps things under that one umbrella. Before I transition, we have two important team members over there that have been an integral part of this as well, and I'd be remiss if I don't acknowledge their efforts. Dan and Cass are quite frequently just amazing team members, and I consider myself extremely fortunate to work side by side with them day in, day out. They played an integral role in assisting Mr. Manzer and his team with the communication piece, obviously with OpenGate, their technology component, and then beyond the huddle component. Again, we're talking about communication, but are we really? We're talking about technology integration from the app. And so I would be remiss before I step away from the podium to acknowledge their efforts and how much that they do in touch within this district to keep us moving forward and keep us innovative and just at the peak of what we're doing. And so I just want to make sure I acknowledge their efforts as well.
Dr. Walsh, can we go back to the boosters really quickly? You know, you and I have had a lot of conversation about boosters. Yeah. For me, it's the inconsistency. For example, soccer has one set of rules. Football has a different set of rules, how they govern and function. We have like the basic outline of how that should look and work. But then let's say the band has one set of rules or what is required of families. Cheer has a different set of, I'm just going through them, right? They all have these different sets of rules. I would like to see some standard language that are required for the boosters to have and not allowed for the boosters to have. Like I'd like to see the consistent language of every year is a fresh start for every child, right? There could have been something that transpired or whatnot. Every year is a fresh start. If a family can't afford the booster fee, some boosters are really generous about that and acceptance, and some are not. I mean, I've heard different stories throughout the many years of sitting here. So I just would like to see a set standard language that then they can, however they need to function for their intricate, you know, details of what they do. But I'd like to see a standard set of rules that every booster needs to have in their bylaws that are just consistent across the board. So one parent doesn't go, well, wait a minute, I just did this at this booster and I just did this at this, and not understanding it. For someone who may be new or have multiple children, I just think one standard set of rules is important.
The challenge with that is that they're their own entities, and they have their own bylaws.
Sure.
What we require in regards to consistency is the bylaws, the list of officers, the treasurer's report, next year's budget, annual report of activities, and as I said earlier, any recommendations. So there is a standardization, but the bylaws and how they function is truly up to that individual booster. And I'm not sure, and I think Mr. Dice would agree with me, that we have the authority to tell them how they should run their organizations, the different boosters.
No, I don't mean running them, but yes,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it depends on how do you put it? 5 votes controls everything. I mean, that's the easy part, but is that a good decision in terms of all the different ways these booster groups have to function? Some are more intense than others, some are less intense.
Sure.
But at the same time, I believe with your reporting requirements, you do have a pretty standard way to go about this. Am I answering your questions? Or?
Well, so I'll use my own child, for example. If he says tomorrow, I'm quitting football, but then next year says, Coach, can I come back? He should be allowed to be back. There shouldn't be a rule that says you can't. So, or, hey, tomorrow, I can't pay that $100 booster fee. So what do we do in place of it?
I think-
So I
yeah.
just have concerns. There's people with financial difficulties. There's people that, kids go through stuff or they try something, they don't like it, but maybe they want to try it again. Like, we should be making sure that an affiliated group, and I don't care who it is, I don't care what the activity is, that we never have it so a kid can't participate.
Right now, I will just say that we're worried about just getting the bare minimum of the board policy of the requirements.
Sure.
And as we meet, and I shared, Mr. Manzer's going to have these annual meetings, I think there's recommendations that we can give to the groups in regards to working together and have some consistency, because we believe consistency is good for our kids, good for our families, good for our community. And I think that's some of the feedback that we could offer to them.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think to that point, I think it's important to note that's not the booster's decision whether the kid makes the team or not. And it's not the booster's decision to put into their bylaws if the coach is going to take the student on the team or not. So that would be a personnel issue that is something different. But I would just say the booster doesn't have that control. They work with the coach, but they're not over the coach.
And our families have big hearts. They know when there's a family that is maybe down on their luck or
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just
struggling,
saying
and
those are two
they
very
work with
different
them as
things.
best they
Yep.
can, so.
Dr. Anderson will have a sidebar about that.
Well,
Dr. Thomas, you want to bring us home with policy?
Yeah, coming up as the closer here on policy recommendations. So the first link on the slide deck, you see that we did develop a parent sportsmanship handbook. This will be included in all the beginning of the year communication with parents and students. It does set a higher bar for parent sportsmanship, and as a former high school principal, as I told Dr. Walsh and Dr. Boers, I've seen sometimes the deviation from sportsmanship on the sidelines, on behind areas that happen. And I think the more we over communicate and we are transparent about our expectations as spectators and parents, and certainly families, it removes the emotion, it instills the passion, but it removes the emotion. It helps people manage that. So that will be a part of the launch with Mr. Carpin, and we appreciate his effort in putting that together. The next 3 are policy revisions that we're working on currently, and I say working on, Mrs. Macker and I are sort of in a holding pattern right now for PSBA to give us the next 10 or so that we can have evaluated for next year. We get policies through the PNN Plus network. The 3 that are relevant to athletics, the first 2 are pretty standard. Athletics fits into extracurricular activities. Our district social media policy, which does have communication pieces of how that is controlled and managed. But most importantly, 824, and I want to point this out to you in the very first bullet on there, and with my new bifocals, I might have to read some of this with my eyes screwed a little bit. It's very key to point when we say there's an 824 policy issue, matter, violation, that there are exceptions to reporting with student athletes if there is an emergency situation. So that emergency situation or legitimate educational reason may justify deviation from the rules, and it goes on, but any deviation from the requirements of the policy must demonstrate that there was maintained an appropriate relationship with the student. So if there was something that wasn't substantiated, of course, we would have to investigate and handle that. But the second bullet goes on, in the policy as written now, we also have kids that are naturally friends, or parents are friends, and there happen to be coaches. They're their family, friends. That's going to happen. That's natural to our community structure, and that doesn't really apply there too. But the last sentence, adults are strongly encouraged to maintain professional boundaries appropriate to the nature of the activity. And I think if we were in that particular situation, we would be calling the parent and having to see if the parents are going to mitigate those issues, because the nexus is the school, but the relationship is managed again by the parents involved, if that was again in the friendship outside of the sports activity. But let's look at the third bullet. I think this also has some relevance as well. Such community involvement is commendable, but the policy is not intended to interfere with or restrict with an adult's ability to serve in these roles. So civic, religious, scouting, this is where we got into this not too long ago. We talk about people that would come up and be a spectator or a scout at one of our events. Unless we have a known reason where we've told them to stay off of school property, it would be no different of saying if somebody likes an Instagram post or a Facebook post, that isn't in itself nefarious. It's not out of bounds. So it is a little bit of a difference here that we're going to have to watch. But there are, to the point I want to make to the full board and this team is that we absolutely do have exceptions under 824. And they're clearly spelled out in the policy as is. But when Mrs. Macro and I dig into the PNN Plus again, we will certainly bring back any revisions to that policy, because you can see it was most recently updated last year. The other two policies that I mentioned there were updated about 4 years ago. Walsh?
I asked Dr. Thomas to put the exceptions in there because I think it's important to note. Sometimes I feel like faculty and staff get caught up that they're texting their godchild or somebody. I'll use myself as an example. I have friends in the community that I've known for 40 years, and I'm close with their families. And I wanted to point that out because we always talk 824 with boundaries, but I wanted to make sure that, that exception piece was mentioned too. Because Plum's a close-knit community, and not everything is nefarious.
Correct.
So, any questions or discussion or considerations for us when we go back to look at this? As I said, Mr. Carpin will be carrying the heavy load here in regards to moving this forward, him and Mr. Manzer. But I think we're bringing some standardization back, and I think that's what I heard from the board. Drift has happened. Let's bring some standardization back and make sure that there's expectations that groups are compliant. So I did hear, about the consistency with the groups. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or add as we're moving this forward?
Anybody have anything? I have one piece. I didn't have a fine tool that I could use on the sportsmanship handbook. I know it says sportsmanship. Do we have somewhere in a code of conduct that says no alcohol at sporting events? Is that
I think it's a general policy, and that is.
I get it.
Yeah.
I hear that.
But that needs to be over-communicated,
Yeah.
yeah.
We do. We have, so again, I made reference to the communication that goes out to other teams as well, and it's in there about no weapons, alcohol, contraband, things of that nature that's on there. And so it's also.
That goes out. Does it go to ours?
It's hosted on our website as well internally with a little bit of a different parameter. It's not as, hey, like welcome to our stadium kind of thing, but I mean, it's there and it indicates what's a prohibited item to come into any type of our buildings and grounds, excuse me.
Yeah. I just think we should be continuing to hammer that. And I don't know any of you that have kids in travel sports, the alcohol is becoming more and more and more prevalent where parents just think it's okay to drink and that's what we do. It's like they're at a Penn State football game or something. So I just feel like we should continue to hammer that home, that's not good sportsmanship as a parent to be drinking alcohol on a sideline or field or what have you.
For our
So,
home
I
events,
agree.
especially football, we were working closely with Chief Conley and the Borough Police in regards to making sure there's appropriate supervision, not only within the stadium, but within the parking lot. They have that golf cart that they were going to deploy last year with the lights on top to make sure that we're monitoring our facilities and making sure that it's a safe place for all.
Yeah, not just behavior, but also somebody's got to drive home, right? And so just making sure that.
Dr.
right,
Anderson, it's also, as the policy, maybe person here, 904, it's actually well spelled out on all school property, all school premises and conveyances.
I just want to make sure, are they
Over
signing
communicating.
something that our parents, when we're having them sign something, I get that that's the law, but when we're talking about sportsmanship and we're talking about that,
When-
I just.
I don't think it's, I agree, I don't think it's.
We can communicate better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just that I don't care if it's in one, I forget what it's called now, the family, whatever thingamajigger. you
Right,
know?
right.
It's one
No,
of the
I
things
agree.
that you sign off on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the acknowledgement form that
Yeah.
you have received this notification. We have them sign off on policies or code of conduct.
Right.
It's in there, but I do hear you that if we're sending a communication out to external groups, we should over-communicate internally too, and I think that's good feedback.
That was going to be my question, what was communicating the alcohol use on the school grounds. And I had one other thing, but that was one of my bigger, next questions.
It's on our radar.
Yeah, okay. You don't need us to move anything forward from that, correct? Okay.
Poor Drew.
And I don't have anything from a report perspective. Next up, community engagement, inclusion, and outreach. Dr. Richardson, do you have a report? Okay. Finance, Mr. Stropke, lead board liaison.
Yeah, Mr. Stropke, before you begin, I want to remind Ms. Stepnick that your husband.
I knew
Okay.
that he was going on vacation, so I was like, I'm not even going to answer.
I just wanted to just remind you.
Yep.
Letter A is the monthly budget report for May. Do we have 5, unless there's any questions, do we have 5 to move that forward? Okay. Item B is the year-end and New Year business office functions, items 1 through 3. They're to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to invest in school district funds in accordance with board policy. 2 is to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to make any necessary year-end budget transfers after June 30th for the 24-25 fiscal year to be presented to the board in October of 2025. And item 3 is approve the Chief Financial Officer to enter into insurance contracts not to exceed $485,000. Is there any questions on any of those items? Well, they're the standard every year at this time. Just covers that gap between June and August when school starts back up again. Do we have 5 to move letter B forward? Okay. And then item C is resolution 2025-16-17-2. It's just to incur debt pursuant to the Local Government Unit Debt Act to accomplish capital improvements at the middle school and O Block Elementary as presented by the Bond Council.
Mr. Stropke, I just want to add, this is per the May 8th presentation and the board adoption on May 27th authorizing to proceed. This motion is a formal resolution for the board to authorize the parameters of the sale of the next $10 million in bonds, which will occur on June 24th, and with the settlement expected on July 29th. We do have Sean Guerin here. Sean, you want to, anything maybe we missed or you would like to add? Hopefully I didn't steal your thunder.
As always, you've missed nothing. The resolution basically mimics the September resolution where I stood in front of you authorizing the debt. As Dr. Walsh said, bonds are expected to be sold next week. This is step 2 in what is expected to be your 3-step plan. This is the formal action of the board to incur the debt, and so next Tuesday, bonds will be sold, administration will then be alerted to rates, et cetera, and the final bond purchase agreement will be signed where rates will be locked in, payments will be locked in for the term of the bonds until they can be called.
So Sean, were you on the bond meeting last week? Were you on that meeting with
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Moody's? So
I was
myself.
not on the rating call, no.
Okay, so myself and Mr. Manzer were on the rating call with Moody's. Our credit rating is remaining at A2, which is healthy. But it was interesting, they did use the word upward pressure in regards to movement. So we believe down the road that there's still opportunities for us to improve. And this is a long way from where this district was 7 years ago. And I believe the bond rating last year, because of the increase, saved about $1.3 million. So.
Okay. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't want to bore you any further.
We love the conversation of bonds.
I knew you would.
Do we have 5?
Do we have 5 to move the resolution forward?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any report this
I
evening?
have no report this evening.
Okay. Forbes Road CTC, Ms. Chudowitz, Lead Board Liaison.
Okay, just when you thought you were done with bonds, here we go into resolution 2025, 617-1. So I think when I spoke last month about they should have, the report that they should have this done by August, here we are. Here is the financing plan for us to, it's very detailed laid out for them to sell their bonds as well to cover the cost of the construction.
And I think I said just last month, it's much needed. They're one incident away of, like a critical incident of not being able to run run Forbes. It's long overdue. I know Mr. Dice serves as solicitor. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I would just note that every school district that is a part of Forbes will have to pass this same resolution. So it's just something you all have to do so they can finally proceed with this. Thank you.
I have one question, Ms. Shadowitz. Could you tell me what, or us, I should say, what, or maybe you know, Dane, what's the percentage of that 19 million that Plum will have to pay on the bond?
It's all equal. And actually, I don't even know if you have to pay anything. I believe it's in their own budget.
Well, right,
Yeah.
we're going to have to pay it out of our, I mean, when we
Yes,
pass the
yeah.
budget, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the tenant, so to speak.
Right, right.
Exactly.
To Forbes.
So I had a conversation with the superintendent of record, and I've been inquiring weekly in regards to our obligation.
Right.
And I'm still waiting an answer. So once I have that, I will surely pass it along in the executive summary. And I think you're aware that with this and with other issues with alternative ed, I've been keeping the board updated as information becomes available.
Oh, I don't have an issue with it, I'm just curious what
Right,
the
and
number
if
is.
I don't know.
everybody,
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
please feel free if you have any further questions or you need anything clarity. We do have our meeting on Thursday, which I'll attend so I can bring all the questions there.
Any other report?
We have a meeting on Thursday and I'll have lots to report after that, but nothing for now. Thank you.
Awesome.
Do we have 5 to move this forward? Okay, thank you.
And then intergovernmental, Mr. Strapke and Ms. Aaron, Lead Board Liaison. Anything to report?
No.
Okay. Legislative, Mrs. Stepnick, Lead Board Liaison. Anything?
I have one sentence, we are still waiting for a budget, which means every school district is waiting for a budget, and the cyber charter is still in play. It's just a matter of what that's really going to look like, and it may be nothing. It may be like last year, we ended up with a few dollars more, right, instead of the actual true number, but.
I met with Mr. McAndrews last week
Yeah.
and tried to get information, and it's nowhere in sight. And what was disappointing to hear is the cyber charter reform is not looking likely to make any changes this year.
Right.
And I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second. The cyber charter schools are pulling public, local money away from every school district. They have $1 billion in fund balance, and it's forcing school district to raise taxes because of the funding formula. Each school district pays a different amount. And we talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. It needs to be looked at. And there needs to be some movement in that area. And I know that we'll be going to PASA and PASBO, and I'm sure that's going to be a topic of discussion. And I will continue to advocate for the district.
Well, at PSBA, we have the same kind of conversations, you'll learn of that. But, yeah, I mean, I've been told it's still in play in conversation, but is it really still in play in a bill? That, who even knows? I mean, again, as they continue negotiating the budget and what that final education package looks like, here we are.
Not just a cost factor too, I think, as on a conversation with Dr. Thomas, they're also pulling professionals out of public into cyber charter, because they're offering with $1 billion that
Sure.
they have, they're offering more funds. So.
They actually parade children in buses around the Capitol on a learning day. It's wonderful, said nobody. They parade children. I'm like, hey, you know what? If I could bring 50 or 60 kids from Plum, I would love to. But then we would be misusing funds and their educational and class time. But they do, they parade children on the Capitol.
We went on different days, and they were doing it on the day that I was there too.
Okay. Operations, Mrs. No, that's all right. Operations, Mrs. Purcell, Lead Board Liaison.
Hi, under operations, we have letter A, Watt Tech, fire detection devices, repairs and upgrades.
Ms. Schaefer is here for any elaboration.
Okay.
You have something?
No, I
Okay.
I wouldn't have the elaboration, but go ahead, Ms. Schaefer.
What that will do is update our fire security system here in this building with antiquated devices that need to be replaced before we can open school in August. So this will take care of that.
Do we have 5 to move that forward?
Yes, I thought it was beyond high school, so.
Under letter B, we have high school cafeteria upgrades.
This is for the sneeze guards in the cafeteria, replacing the old ones and installing new.
Do we have 5 to move that forward?
Please.
Under letter C, we have special education transition program vehicle purchase.
Dr. Lord started this recommendation, I would say, about 6 months ago, and we've been thoroughly vetting it to make sure that we're able to offer services and be compliant with our transportation union. So Dr. Lord, you just want to share a little bit about this recommendation?
Yes, so this van will go towards strengthening and expanding opportunities in community placements for our students in high school programming. And also we've made sure that the use of the van would not infringe upon the driver's contract, keeping runs to 6 students or fewer.
Yeah, there's opportunities that we have 1 or 2 children that our teacher can easily, and they would fall under our umbrella, and we went through this entire process. And it's not unusual for schools to have a van in their pupil services department.
So it would be a teacher driving if they were taking them somewhere instead of our transportation drivers? Yep, okay.
Do we have 5 to move that forward?
Yep.
Under letter D, we have an annual technology application contracts approval.
Mr. Laletta, anything you'd like to add?
These are just our annual renewals that go over the threshold. We do them each year. Some you'll see are curricular applications, some are service agreements on a monthly basis. We bring these forward each year, and they are all allocated in our budget and budgeted for.
Do we have 5 to move that forward? Under letter E, we have high school scoreboards.
I'll take this one. As this board is aware, the We Are All Mustang group has been extremely generous. That's the Pat McAfee group. Him and his team have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to our athletic programs. Our students offered charter buses when they make the playoffs. And I just can't thank him enough for his generosity. Earlier this year, it was presented with an opportunity that the We Are All Mustangs group wanted to get more involved in capital improvements to our athletic facilities. The recommendation from the group was to maybe look at our scoreboards at the stadium and in the gym. And what was nice about this is because Mr. McAfee has a platform and he's able to negotiate maybe better than a school district, was able to get a substantial reduction in the cost, which still left a gap in their belief, and I also believe it too, that with capital improvements, our district has to have skin in the game. So what you see here is a recommendation for a video scoreboard at the stadium and at the gym. Not $1 of taxpayer dollar or state or federal is being used for this. As you're all aware, policy 707, we collect revenue for sports rentals for our gyms. That money, we had enough in that budget item to cover the cost of the scoreboard. So the money that was generated through the use of our athletic facilities is offsetting the cost of these scoreboards. I believe, hopefully, that this is maybe a beginning of other conversations that we can have in regards to improving our athletic facilities. And as I said, I just can't thank him enough and his team for their generosity and just trying to make Plum a more special place for all, and particularly our student athletes.
Dr. Walsh, I think you should mention the educational component.
So there is.
This is really
okay.
cool.
So with the scoreboard, there is a curriculum that is connected to this. We've been in conversation with Mr. Barat in TV production, and right now we are scheduled to have these installed at the beginning of July. So I'm not sure where we're going to be with the curriculum when football season and soccer and lacrosse and field hockey come around. But we are in the works, and you'll hear us moving a recommendation for TV production in regards to the curriculum, moving this forward. Ideally, we want our students operating our scoreboard. It's a great opportunity for them. And I also think when the community is looking for scoreboard operators, it might be nice to have kids that are our students that are trained and able to maximize the functionality of these boards. So this is all in the works, but like I said, this is very appreciative and a good start.
Do we have 5 to move that forward? No. Under letter F, we have high school facility assessment.
Ms. Schaefer, you want to take that, or do you want me to jump in? You got it? Okay.
This will be our final building assessment. We've had every other building assessed. This will help us determine what we need to prioritize to bring the high school up to functionality.
As the board's aware, we have conducted these with Hayes Design Group and our other buildings. The goal here is to have a district-wide facilities plan of at least 5 years. There's several times this year where I've come to this board and I mentioned that we have a pump right down the hallway here that was end of life 15 years ago. And we have other critical structures that are coming to end of life. We need to identify them. We need to budget. I think this is the fiscally responsible way of moving forward. This will allow us to prioritize our needs and budget accordingly instead of being reactive to things breaking. My biggest concern is a critical component going down during the school year and having to go remote for weeks because we didn't have the information or the planning or the forethought in order to make sure that our buildings are safe, warm, and dry. So.
Do we have 5 to move this forward? Under letter G, we have authorization to purchase 2 open gate weapon detection units.
And this is in our safety and security budget for this year, for this upcoming year.
Do we have 5 to move this forward?
Anything else to report?
Nothing.
Thank you. All right, personnel, Mr. Caligari, lead board liaison. Are you available to speak on there, Mr. Caligari?
Yes, thank you. So the first item under section A is the Seton Hill University internship and learning, experiential learning agreement. Dr. Thomas or anybody else, would you like to expand on that and just give a small overview of the opportunity for the students?
Yeah, this isn't related to our food services team here at Plum. We may be hosting some interns through Seton Hill and food services.
Any questions for discussion?
Sounds awesome.
Okay, so we have 5 to move that forward.
You do.
Oh,
yeah, we're all raising our hand, Mike. Did you see us?
You do, you have 5.
Yeah, it looks good. And then the second one is the interview screening services agreement. I know we've all had a chance to review it, but can the administration just provide, again, a brief overview of the program and see if we can get 5 to move it forward?
So Interview Stream is our integration that we've used for screening applicants in addition to their resume and application materials. We've been piloting this for 6 months now. Our term ends on 6/30, and we are recommending that the agreement move forward for the next 12 months. It's been a wonderful addition.
Do we have 5 to move it forward?
You have 5.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to report?
No.
Okay, awesome. Policy, Ms. Arendt, Lead Board Liaison.
All right, tonight we just have the second reading of the policies listed under letter A, 1 through 8. We have presented and reviewed these before. Do we have any questions before we move these forward?
I do have one question. So for policy 913, non-school organizations, group individuals, can you give me an example of like what would be like non-school materials?
Dr. Thomas, you want to answer that?
Either way, yep. A non-school organization would be, say, if somebody wanted to use the facility that is of a non-secular nature, such as a religious organization wanting to use one of our facilities. If you look in there, or any other group that's basically non-school affiliated.
So any exterior groups that want to come and rent, I'll give the, USGA, they rented out our auditorium and our gymnasium for the onboarding of their 4,100 volunteers. They were a non-school organization, and they pay the rate accordingly.
Okay.
Is that what this is? This is what?
Well, this is also ties to dissemination of materials as well, so we're not really sponsoring them.
They couldn't disseminate the information, right? So USGA couldn't utilize our facilities.
They can rent our facilities, but that's it.
They can't.
Use our app, use our
Right,
website,
right.
they can't put flyers.
They can't put flyers up on bulletin boards when they're renting the facility, so the next day you walk in and it's volunteer for USGA for the US Open. Does that make sense? No.
And maybe I can just jump in real
Yeah.
quick. Just from a First Amendment perspective, this really covers you because you get to say, look, if you're an outside group, we don't discriminate against any political affiliation or anything at all. All we know is you're an outside group and therefore you don't get to hand out your literature. And that just gives the district and the board and the administration more control over who gets to come on district property and hand out literature, so, yeah.
It prohibits anybody. So I just want to be clear that, like, say somebody has a scholarship opportunity, we can disseminate that to our students.
Yeah.
It's just giving us the ability to.
Yeah, there's my inbox probably, I get hundreds of emails every day and solicitations for information. And there are some that are pertinent to our students and opportunities for our students, and we will surely have the opportunity to make sure that there's opportunities for kids that will act accordingly. Yeah.
All right, do we have 5 to move these forward?
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything to report?
No report.
All right, projects and planning, Dr. Richardson and Mrs. Purcell, co-lead board liaison.
Sure, so we have 2 items today. So A, we have the O-block roof replacement and roof storm drains.
I'll start with the roof and I'll have Ms. Schaefer elaborate a little bit more. As you're aware, it's been an ongoing issue, the roof at O-block. While we're getting ready for the larger renovation, we want to move forward with replacing that roof. So Ms. Schaefer, you want to talk about timelines, how it's going to begin in a few weeks, and et cetera?
This will be only the section over the kindergarten wing, first off, and it's replacing 2 old storm drains and 4 additional drains for in that roof area. It will begin July 17th and end August 11th, so that there won't be any interaction while students are coming in. It'll be done by Find Your Classroom Day.
Weather permitting.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they swimming there?
If we don't do the roof, yes, we will be. We will have another indoor pool.
Okay, any discussion on that? Glad to move that forward. Okay, and then we have the middle school exterior courtyard bids. You want to speak on that as well?
Ms. Schaefer, you want to just elaborate?
This is to replace the concrete at the back of the middle school by the cafeteria loading dock over the weight room area. So this will replace all the concrete down to the metal deck and alleviate all of the water that's going into the old wrestling room.
The bids came in on June 12th, and this was the recommendation moving forward. And I
this
might
will-
add that 50% of this money is going to be paid for, or the 50% of the cost, 50% will be from the bond and 50% will be from grant money. And because the grant or the bids came in lower than expected, there is still money for opportunities at the middle school. So we're exploring those now, and we look forward to moving recommendations forward to the board.
This is also replacing the canopy at the back of that building as well.
Why are so many listed, but they didn't give a bid? Did they just not do it in time? Is that what happened?
We didn't, they probably didn't have enough time to get the work done because we requested
In our
the bid, so, yes, and our time frame was so tight.
So this just shows who HDG put it out to?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the people that bought the bid packet.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Schaefer, I'm so glad you're here. We're talking about projects and planning, and I've been waiting to see you. When are we painting the tennis courts?
As soon as the weather straightens up.
And we're not going to paint pickleball lines on them?
We are going to paint pickleball lines on there, as we've discussed
That's
earlier.
a disaster.
Other districts have it. They have multiple use facilities. Our kids are excited about this.
But every
Yeah.
single school our district plays in tennis does not have pickleball lines. I've been to them.
I've talked to Mr. Carpin about this. He did not have any concerns. He said some of the places our kids play, they do, so.
They don't, actually, I've been there.
Okay, any discussion on that? Not the pickleball ones.
No, because that's going to be a hot mess.
Yep, the courtyard bids. Yep. Do we have 5?
Glad to move that forward.
Thank you. Anything to report?
Just a reminder that we have our Act 34 public hearing next week.
June
right?
24th, right?
June 24th. And there is a booklet that's available to the public on our website, the construction information webpage, that can be accessed. So if you need any further information, it can be found there.
Thank you for sharing that. Next up, Student Services, Mrs. Stepnick, Lead Board Liaison.
I guess we're pulling letter A.
It's on the agenda, so we have
Okay,
to.
I'm not going to move it forward, so somebody else can have a conversation.
So letter A is the service agreement with Cartwheel Health Services, which is anticipated to start in the 25-26 school year.
Dr. Anderson, we have Dr. Laura here. Maybe she can talk a little bit about the program. Would you mind? Could you come up to the mic?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Such a long walk.
Get my steps in tonight. Hi, everyone. I'm pleased to come before you tonight to talk a little bit about the review process and the recommendation process that went into considering Cartwheel that's before you this evening. I would just start by briefly saying that when I first got to the district in mid-September, I did a lot of listening. And one of the things that I heard most often from our teachers, our counselors, our social workers was the need to secure and stabilize more school-based mental health resources for our students. So we did a lot of talking and listening, and we engaged some companies. Cartwheel was one that we first met with on December the 9th. And on that meeting in the 9th, I met with, it was myself and Dr. Rainier Hershey. She's our Assistant Director of Special Education. And we first met with Mr. Vandy that day. Before you is the presentation that we were given by Mr. Vandy on that day. We thought it worthy enough to take it to another meeting, and the second meeting happened on December 16th. And not only was I in attendance and Dr. Rainier Hershey, we had both of our school psychologists. We also had our department chairs for social worker and our department chair for school counselor, along with Mr. Preston at that December 16th meeting. Mr. Vandy reviewed the information, again, that's before you this evening. The consensus coming out of that meeting from our internal stakeholders in student services was that the team felt that there was value enough for me then to take it to my bosses. So on January 24th, myself, Dr. Boyers, and Dr. Thomas also met, not with Mr. Vandy, but with one of his representatives that day, again, reviewing the information that's before you tonight. I view Cartwheel as a robust resource not only for our students but for our families. One of the biggest hurdles that we face is insurance compatibility. So one of the biggest points for me in consideration of this resource is the fact that before Cartwheel goes into a state, it becomes an approved provider for all the insurances within the state. Another big, I think, benefit is the decreased wait time. So sometimes our students, they experience an acute event and we need to get resources to them quickly. This would enable families to, if families would choose to have their child participate in this, it would enable us to get that resource to that student rather quickly. Another, I think, benefit to this program is the fact that these services can be delivered in over 30 different languages. And we're definitely coming up to that as a challenge. Our ELL population is increasing. Another potential benefit I feel of this resource is that disability categories in special education, there are about 13 of them under the law. Emotional disturbance ticked up a little bit for us from the 22-23 school year to 23-24, from about 6% of our overall population to 6.7%. Again, not a drastic increase, but it is sort of trending in that direction. I come from a background of early intervention. My previous position I led in that space. Early intervention is very family focused, and I do view this resource through that lens of family support. We can connect, if families want their children to participate in this, we could get that connection for them. It would eliminate the calls they have to make in their busy work schedules, et cetera. And so that, I just wanted to comment on that review process and the recommendation that's before you tonight.
When you moved that forward, you moved it to Dr. Thomas and Dr. Boyers. I think I started to get involved in April. And that's when we started to look externally at other districts and start to get some feedback. And I think the feedback was favorable. So I appreciate your work on this, and I appreciate your time that you put into this.
Can I ask one question? Can you tell me how Cartwheel differs from the work that our social workers are doing for us?
So I think that Cartwheel would not replace a social worker. I want to be very clear in my mind. Cartwheel is an addition, is an additional resource in that way. The counseling, I think that there are times when, the family counseling aspect is another part of Cartwheel that it can offer. Again, if families so choose to participate in that. I think the medication management aspect of that is another resource to families. I think it's a value add. I don't see it as a replacement for anybody's position or job.
Yep, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I'll just be blunt. We've had a lot of questions and conversation, and many of which we can't share out here because they may be student-specific or student confidentiality issues or whatnot. But several want to get some questions answered before we move this forward. So I think Dr. Thomas has got those lists of questions, and I would ask that we respect that decision that was made to get those questions answered before we would move something forward.
Excellent. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm going to be the same. Obviously, my stance on this. I'd like to table the discussion for 30 days until we get some more data. I want to know exactly how many children are going to be impacted by this and what the outcomes will be. But I'm not against it because it's always nice to have a supplemental program for mental and behavioral health.
Right.
But this program, I'm just not convinced in right now. But I think I could be convinced with a little more information.
Certainly. We do have school-based mental health currently through Claire Vita. They send a therapist in. We've not used that to replace anyone. So we do sort of have that, but we do run into, I think, there's not enough therapists sometimes, and I think the insurance is sometimes a barrier.
Yep.
That's
Sure. No, I get it. We just have questions, and I think it would be it would be irresponsible if I didn't, this is sitting on my agenda, so I wouldn't be responsible if we said, let's go forward with it after there were questions that were looking to be answered.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ursula. Okay, as it's on the agenda, do we have 5 to, I don't know if you want to make a motion to table, or do we have 5 to move it forward? I think we need to deal with it, right?
I'd like to make a motion to table it.
I'll second.
Okay.
So-
Yes, I'm on board for tabling
Can we,
for 30 days.
Right.
That's all.
can we take a vote? Do we have 5 to table it?
I would say roll call at this point.
Okay.
There's been an official motion to table, so we should probably record that, Jen, not to put you on the spot.
Ms. Chudderwitz?
For our roll calls, we do go in alphabetical order in a rotating fashion. So the first person up for vote is going to be Mr. Stropke this round. So the vote is a yes or a no to table this.
So a
for
yes
30
vote
days.
would be to table, a no vote would be not to table, to proceed with it tonight. Thank
To
you.
vote.
And
Correct.
And can I just clarify one other thing for it as people vote? The different, let's play out the scenarios. Let's say that it gets tabled. It could still get added to the agenda next month. If we, I mean, it gets added for the next agenda.
Yeah.
Let's say that it doesn't get tabled and there aren't 5 to move it forward. It can still get added to the agenda next month.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, there's no
Just
harm in
clarifying
that.
for everybody as they vote,
Right.
just so they understand. Okay.
All right. So this will be a yes if you want to table, a no if you want to
Oh my gosh.
proceed to the action meeting. Mr. Stropke,
No.
Dr. Anderson,
No.
Ms. Arendt,
No.
Mr. Caligiuri,
Yes.
Mrs. Chudderwitz,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
No.
Dr. Richardson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Stepnick.
Yes.
We have a 4-4.
Well, we're not going to do this
Can we
again, are
vote
we?
to move it forward? No?
Well-
Can we do that?
vote on it?
Can we just vote on whether we're moving it forward? to
We don't have
discussion?
5 to move it
If we don't have 5 to
Yeah.
move it forward, that's what I mean. Can we
Yeah,
just,
I mean, technically, I mean, if you would like, I mean, I guess what I would say is technically, the motion to table failed.
right?
However, if there's not 5 to move it forward, as in vote on it, maybe,
Disappears anyway.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
Well, we don't know
So,
that until people.
yeah, that's what
vote.
I mean. So can we just show hands? So the motion to table failed. Can we show of hands, do we have 5 to move it from discussion to voting on it? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 to move it from discussion to moving it forward. So then, because we have a combined discussion action. Yeah.
No, nothing happened.
No, Mark,
I don't know if she raised.
did you vote to move it forward?
Move it forward, we can still vote no.
Yeah, but
You're
then
going to vote
it's a
no on it
consent
in
agenda,
10
so
minutes.
that's what-
You're going to vote no on it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Line item it anyways.
Right. You're going to line item to vote no.
And it's still going to be 4-4.
And I'm not.
No,
No.
it doesn't have to. It's up to the administration and me if we put it on.
Yep.
Can we just be reasonable and agree that we're split as a board? Obviously, Ron's not here, so I'm sorry, Mr. Sokolsky's not here. Can we just be reasonable and wait 30 days? It's clear that there's no, reason to have the contract signed in June. So like, can we just take the 30 days and just agree to that?
We have something that's on the agenda. I need to make sure that we deal with it properly. That's what I'm saying.
No,
So the
I agree.
tabling didn't go forward, so I didn't see 5 hands. Am I missing it? I saw Mr. Stropke's, mine, Ms. Arendt's, and Ms. Purcell's. I didn't see either of yours, correct? Megan, no?
I tried to avoid this
Right?
last week, this conversation
Okay,
tonight, but here we are.
yeah, that's okay, that's no big deal. That's no big deal, so.
It was a balk.
I think from that, then, Ms. Macro just needs to take it off of the agenda for the action, for
Yeah.
when we're doing the full consent, just remove it fully.
Precisely, because there weren't 5 to move it forward, yep.
Perfect, okay.
I just think it's respectful if there's enough people that have questions and just want to get some more data, more information.
I just,
That should
I
be
don't know
honored.
that that information will come in 30 days, and so it
I'm
might
going
not
to
be.
call cartwheel myself.
Well,
if we
that's
can't
up
get
to
it.
you, but that's up to the administration and myself if we feel comfortable putting it back on. So that's all I would say. Okay, moving forward. So we have, Ms. Stepnick, you have letter B.
Oh, hold on, sorry. Oh, jeez. These are our 25-26 annual student services renewals. Does anybody have any questions? 1 through 4, we have Presley Ridge, sorry, that's number 4, School-Based Access Program, Children's Institute, Devereaux, TCV. These are standard contracts that we, is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay. These are standard contracts that we renew annually. Any questions?
I don't think.
Okay. 5 to moving forward? We're good? Okay.
All right, so that concludes our discussion moving.
I have one more
Oh,
thing.
I'm sorry. you have
Sorry.
My-
I know we've been getting in the Friday updates, sorry, I'm trying to read this and look at all of you, and I'm realizing that's not working out. So, I know you all have been getting in the Friday updates, our executive summary, and we've briefly discussed Community Schools East and West through the IU. And I think they've put together a pretty good legislative package to make their argument to get some funding for at least to sustain Community School East, and move that forward. And we got the new pricing from the district, so the IU is really working on that and in truly hopes that the PDE comes back with realizing that they're displacing children and we, in a very short period of time. So more to come on that, but there is a lot of discussion going on and a lot of pressure and public conversation, but as well as board members, we need to know if we have students affected, what that's going to look like, but it looks like Community School East will stay for this coming school year.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes the discussion meeting. We'll move on to the action meeting. We'll carry over the roll call and the Pledge of Allegiance. Recommend approval of the following minutes as listed below.
I'll make the recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. President's report, I don't have a report for this evening. In order to move us forward, just have a happy summer and enjoy. And we most likely will have a meeting in July just to move some personnel things forward. It'll be real quick. And again, I think I mentioned or Dr. Richardson's talking about the June 24th meeting for our construction bill. Do you have a report?
I do not. I just want to, I felt like we ended the year on a positive note with graduation. And unfortunately for the 3,600 students in the district, I'm really looking forward to the return in about 8 weeks.
Yeah, they're not.
Right. Dr. Walsh, I have to tell you, I ran into Drew at the rest stop as we were bringing McElf to DC, and we talked, then he was talking about some different ideas you all talked about, and Alex was like, did I hear something about start times? I'm like, you're going to school in August at normal time, just.
That's funny.
We have big plans.
All the things he listened to, that was
Right,
the
that's
only
what
thing he
heard.
took away.
That's funny. Okay, so just our final recommend approval to accept and resolve the following 6 through 16 as listed. Can we have someone to make that recommendation?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ms. Stepnick, is there something you needed to abstain to?
Oh, yes, I apologize. I do have to abstain from the line item in the budget, I'm sorry, in our monthly budgeting that exempts, sorry, that pays my husband. Yeah, under finance, but what is the actual?
Monthly budgetary report.
Right, but I thought there was something else I had to say.
8A.
8A, that's right, okay.
And then is that moving forward or just once annually?
Just once annually.
Okay.
It's only one time.
Okay. All right.
I had it written down differently.
Upcoming public meetings, Act 34, public hearing on O Block Elementary School addition and alterations, Tuesday, June 24th, here in the library at 7 p.m. The special voting meeting, Tuesday, July 22nd, here in the library at 7 p.m. And then our combined board and discussion and action meeting Tuesday, August 12th, here in the library at 7 PM. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? And we're done.